Good morning. Welcome to Level 2, Day 2, or Day 2, Level 2 of the Google Certified Educator Bootcamp. Woo! Let me give you one of these. Yeah. Oh, you can't see it. Let me do it over here. Yeah. All right. So, this is Day 2 of Level 2. This is to get you ready, get you excited, get you learning to take the Level 2 exam. So let's see what our agenda is today, because we are going to get into it right away. If you've been with us last week, you'll know I'm Frederick Ballou. That's when I want to sound fancy. I use my full first name, but you can see in the corner, like if you see, let's see what happens if I change our layout. This is always fun. Oh, it's way over there. Okay. Boom. You can see me a little. Oh, I moved around. That's all I did. What if I do that? Oh, yeah. You can see my name right there. I go by Rick, not Frederick. Rick is when I want to sound fancy, or Frederick is when I want to sound fancy. Anyway, I'm your host today, just like I was last time. I'm a Google for Education certified trainer, coach, innovator, GEG leader, and I'm super excited to be here hosting this with you, talking about Level 2. Now, last time we got into some of the Google tools that you probably already know and love. Today on Level 2, we get into some of the weirdo ones, like groups, blogger, books, scholar, and then things you use probably all the time and forget that they're Google, like YouTube or Maps or that search, which is honestly what a lot of my older family think, that when I say I'm Google certified, they go, like, what, you can search for stuff? Yes, and we'll get into search. So today is all about those tools and what you need to know to pass the exam. So rather than me going on and on, which I could do, I instead want to bring up our first teacher, our first person who's going to help us learn all about it. It's Pilar Hernandez, and I'm going to add her to the thing right now. She turned her camera on, which means I can add her. Talk about groups.
I love how you call them the weirdo apps.
Right? The ones that you go, oh yeah, that's Google, right? Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
And
about
also, yeah. So they're also the ones that not a lot of people know about. The ones that not everybody use. And so when it comes to certification time, they're like, I have to know how to use this. And they get scared about a new thing, but they're very similar. For instance, groups is like so similar to Gmail.
for sure?
Right? And so I'm going to show you very quickly how we can know the steps on how to do certain things that you might need for your certification. Then we're going to go over to Blogger, which is another one of the weirdo.
Right. Well, I'll leave you to it. Have fun.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm seeing people from India, London, Lithuania. My good God. Thanks so much. Somebody from Massachusetts. Thank you so much for joining us. So that this waking up earlier on a Saturday is not for nothing. Okay. Well, I'm Pilar Hernandez. I have a QR code right there for some of my socials. I'm not a big deal. I'm just a chemistry teacher. But I started my Google journey a few years ago. So I'm a trainer, I'm an innovator for the academy, the first virtual academy in 2020. I'm also a GEG leader. I am not a coach yet, but I will be. So I'm going to be competing with Rick with all the Googleness. So, yeah. Prof. Gerardo is joining us from Campeche. Thank you, Prof. Um, what am I going to talk about? Oh, yeah, groups. Okay, so in Google Groups, we have a very similar situation than in Gmail. So what we use it for is to create a mailing list, basically. All right, so it's very easy to use. It's very like the interface is very similar to an email. So if you know how to use Gmail, you're gonna be very clearly know how to use groups. So before I go into showing you my slides, I actually just want to show you how it looks like. Let's see if I can show you that in a minute. Okay. I'm gonna share my screen with what is another window. I think I'm gonna go with this one, this one. Okay. There you go. That's the one that I wanted to share. All right. So this is how groups.google.com would look like. You can access groups by going into the URL groups.google.com, or you can find um, this icon in your um, apps menu, launch app menu, that they call the waffle. I don't know why they call it the waffle. I think Americans are always thinking about food. So there you go. This is how it looks like. So how do we create a group, which is the first task to do? Okay, so how do we create a group? We go to the corner of the screen here on top. You know how in Gmail you have a plus sign that says, to send an email? You here put a create group and you put a group name. So let's call this 2022 Bootcamp. And you can see how at the same time that I'm giving it a name, it gives me a group email, and I can decide the domain. Usually if I have only one, this is not going to be an option. If you use this from your Gmail account, it will say at gmail.com. And then you can put a group description. So I'm going to say here, I don't know why I have that. Okay. Say practice group or bootcamp. And you can just put whatever newsletter for the classroom, or I don't know. Who can join the group? Oh yeah, because we're not doing scenarios in the certifications anymore, so that's irrelevant. Anyway, who can join the group? And then you can say anyone in the organization can join. This is when you have a school domain. In the case of a personal account, these would probably say anyone on the web, um, only people who can ask, and people who are invited only. So this is because it's an education domain. That's why it says anyone in the organization, but otherwise it could say anyone on the web. Now you can see here who can view conversation. Because this is an education domain, it's limited to the entire organization. And then when it's on the personal account, like gmail.com, it should say until anyone on the web in all cases. So you can say, I only want people that are part of the group to see the conversations. Everybody from the group only can post, and I just want uh, the group owner or the group managers to see the members. Now, what are the group owner and managers? Owner is the one that makes it, so in this case, it's me. But if I have a co-teacher, and I want to make a mailing list for the students or something. It's no need when you have classroom, but let's just say that you do, or the parents, and you want to have somebody else to help you with it. So in the case of like a GEG group, for example, a Google Educator group, and you're part of a community, and you have a certain number of people helping you out with the leading, you want to have all these leaders or all these people that are in the leading organization to be able to help you out, so you make them managers. So that's basically what a manager would be. um, but I want them all to see like who are the members, or everybody else. That's not recommended to have everybody look at the members, because they would see all their information. And then I can see here if I can add people. So for instance, I can add myself, I can add I don't know if it's an up here, prof. I just want to know if this is the correct email. Let me know. What do you think? You're on mute, Prof. Is it right? You're still on mute, Prof.
I think he said it was right,
Okay.
unless he said it wasn't. I don't know.
I
I
don't
just said he was on mute.
know. Let's just assume it is. I don't think it is, because
No, it isn't.
it isn't.
BEN.
V.
GE,
Oh,
GE.
GE. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
NAV. That's
NA,
correct.
yeah, that's correct.
It doesn't. Okay, there you go. Yes, it recognizes you when you put a correct email. Thank you, Prof. When you put a correct email, it recognizes it right away and it puts it like that. If it's not a correct email, usually it just leaves it like it's not right and it doesn't let you go forward. So this is how you put the members. I can put somebody else in the managers. I'm gonna put my other email account from the school. You can email me there if you want. I don't care. And there you go. It recognizes it as an email, and you can write a welcome message when they get an email to say that they're part of the group. So you put like, "Hi everybody, here, hi all," and then you can decide their subscription. Their subscription could be that they will receive each email, that they can do digest, which I think is only one big table that shows you all the conversations of the week once a week, the abridged version that is like a summary of it, or no email at all. You want them at the beginning to receive each email, and everybody on their own groups app, they can decide. Like if I have other groups that I'm part of, I can decide how much of that group I want to receive. If it's a very active group and it's just distracting me, I can just put like I want to get the digested part, like once um, one email a week or one a day, etc. And then create the group. There you go. Once it's created, it appears right here where it says my groups. Yes. Here it tells me 0 members had it successfully because they were outside of my organization and they need to be allowed in. Um, it doesn't matter. It's just a test because in your personal account you can add whoever you want. The situation is that when you have an education domain, there are a lot of restrictions. So if you're going to create a group, usually is within the organization and you just add emails of people within it. And most of us use with a, oh hi Judy, you're joining us, we use a school account, and so we will have no problem adding students. But if you use your personal account and you want to make a group for like a family newsletter or something, as long as they're Google accounts or even those that are not, can be added to the email group. Now, once you have this in my groups, I can go straight to the group and then create a conversation. Create a conversation is basically how to post in a group, and that's another thing that you need to do. So either you click it here because there are no conversations, or you click it over here. It says in the plus sign on the left, new conversation. And I want you to look at how much it looks like Gmail. So all you have to do is click on new conversation and then write hi and hello, and then that's it. And then I click on send message. I can use all the formatting text tools the same as in an email. I can also add pictures and attachments and whatever I want, and then I can just send it over and it will appear. Sorry, there you go. It says posting, message posted, and it's right here. Now, how do people receive it? Do they have to go into groups to see it? No, they don't. They can just go over into the email, and you can see how I received it here because it's only me, and it's right there in my email. It's just like every time somebody posts a conversation, it's sent to me an email. So groups is basically an email list. And how can you reply to a post? Very simply, you can reply from the email and just click on reply and say hi back and send it. And it's going to appear like an email normal in your email. But if you go to groups, it's also going to be there as a reply in the conversation. We're just going to have to wait for it to load. Let's see. There you go. It says number 2. That's because it's the conversation going right there. See? So for the things that we need to know how to do, we need to know how to create a group. We need to know how to get the privacy settings that I was showing you before, like who can see the post, um, who can post, who can view members, that's the privacy settings, and then how do you post and how do you reply to it. Let's go back to the let's go back to the presentation so I can show you this. Now we're gonna be able to see this slide deck from um, from our site. I don't know if you already have access to the site. Maybe somebody in the background can give us the access to the site. All right, I don't know. And you can go over these GIFs that I created for you to remember how to create a group and add members, how to post the message right there for you to know how it's done, how to respond to a post in a group, and how you respond to an email, which is basically how you send a message. Let me know if you have any questions about Google Groups so I can help you out before I move on to the next one. But
No notes. I have no questions. But
yeah,
yeah, that was perfect. I was gonna introduce the next host covering the next thing, but that's you.
it's me. Yes,
So
it's me. I'm gonna talk about Blogger now.
lucky. All right, have fun.
Thanks. So, if you have no questions about Google Groups and you see how it's easy to manage, then let's move on to Blogger. Now, Blogger, it's a tool that before Google Classroom was created, I used to use for my students. I used to have a blog where I would post to my students um, since I teach chemistry and in the way that my school is organized, because I'm in Mexico, and so I know it's different from those who are abroad. But my class is theoretical and practical, like most science classes, but we have only one day assigned to use it as science lab because we only have one science lab for the whole school because it is little school. So I had this one day where the students would go to the lab and on a double period session, and we were supposed to do everything in that one session. And the situation was that if I didn't give them in advance the information about what activity we were going to do, we would waste about a period and a half in explaining what we were doing. And that was the regular way that things were done when I started in the school. So I created a blog and I told them I'm going to post the material like 2 days in advance for you to know and be prepared and come with your report ready, like your lab report, only with spaces for observations. We call that a pre-lab. And so I created it on a blog. And it was very easy to use. Nowadays, bloggers is not much needed other than for fun, for sharing good practices. But if you're interested in knowing how it works, I can show you how to create it, how to make it private, and how to post. It's super, super easy. So the first thing that you want to do is go into, let's see, it's very difficult to share screen on StreamYard when you only have one computer. Okay. First thing that you want to do is click on blogger.com or find in your waffle or launcher menu of apps the blog symbol. Not everybody has it available on an education domain. So just go to blogger.com and you'll be able to access it. And once you're there, this is how it looks like. And it says create your own blog. Or you can just go straight to sign in. And in sign in, you choose your account. In this case, it's my account. Oh my God, I need to put my password in. Okay, I will. I'm going to sign in. And see how in my education domain, it says that I cannot access this service because this is the thing. Nowadays, Blogger has been restricted to students under 18 years of age. So what you do, if you need to use this, we're going to go into then a different account. I'm going to use my personal account. And I'm going to show you how it looks like. I already have a blog. And so I actually have two blogs. And I can move from there. In my same account, I have two. and I can have as many blogs as I want. So I have this one that I created for me to share with teachers, and it's very, very simple to use. It has the same kind of user interface of Gmail in groups, where you have your menu on the left, and you just go by more or less the same type of um, um, words or jargon for the menu, but it's very simple. Okay, so the beginning you would have this empty because it's a new blog. What do you have to do? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to create a new blog. I'm gonna click on it. New blog. I need to give it a title, a name for my blog. So I'm gonna call it practice blog. And then I'm going to click on next, and then it's going to ask me to give it a URL address. So this is how people will access my blog. For instance, the other ones are um, ddd.blogspot.com or .mx in my case, because I live in Mexico. But you can just, let's say Bootcamp 2022 and see if it's available. If this wasn't available, like I remember trying to create one that was called EdTech, and it says, sorry, this is not available. Why? Because a lot of people have probably used this, or somebody already won that. So, but if I'm going to call it Practice um, 2022, let's see if this is available. No, it's not. 2022 Bootcamp sounds like a good idea. Let's see. This one is available. So that's going to be my URL address. What does that mean? That people will access my blog in 2022bootcamp.blogspot.com. I'm going to save it before somebody else takes it. Now, when you delete it, that will be available again, but it doesn't matter. And this is how it looks like when you have no posts. It's a new one. You have right there the name of your blog, and you have, these are your settings of different things. This is the way to see how the blog will look like. For right now, you have nothing, so it probably is going to look like an empty page. So let's click what it looks like. This is how it looks like right now. So I'm going to go back and show you, how do we post in the blog? What do? We click on new post. We give it a title. See, this is very simple, very similar to like one of those old uh, text editors. Very simple. You say first post. Let's call it first post. And I'm going to say hi all. And then I want to add an emoji. See, because it has formatting text. And I can add a picture. I can look them up in Blogger or bring it from a URL, upload from the computer. I can add a video. All those things I can do. Okay. So what else? What am I going to do? I can text, I can modify, I can edit, I can do whatever I want. I can put labels. If my blog is going to be for sharing practices and I want to share things that are to be done on video, you can say #video. And so people who use my blog, I can just look by theme, my topic. Oh my God, my light went out. Oh, anyways, all right, let's continue. And then it says publish or preview. I can click on preview and see how it looks like once it's posted. This is probably ads. That's why it says that. And then I can just go and say publish. Okay, so I'm going to publish it. Yes, I'm going to publish it. But then I realized that I don't know if I did it right. What can I do? I can revert to a draft. I can unpost right there, like very quickly revert it to draft, and it's taken away from the public post. Because I haven't set up my privacy settings. I need to check who is going to be able to see my blog. I wanted to keep it private. It's only for me. Is it for my students? Is it for my parents? What is it going to be like? So I go to settings, and here it says what is my title, which I can always change. I can give a description to it. I can put warnings if it's an adult content type of blog. Don't do that. And I can see here privacy, visible to search engines or not. I don't want it to be visible to search engines because I want to do a blog for my students. I want to do a blog where I can post like student work to share with the parents, maybe. And I don't want people to be able to access um, from like random people in the web to access it. All right, then. Let's move on to publishing. Here it says things about the blog address that you can also change if you want, or just keep it away. If you need anything of that, you don't need to know any about that at the beginning. That's for people who are more into like coding. And then here, permissions, blog admins and authors. What if, again, I have a good teacher, we want to do a blog for the classroom, who can access it? I can add people and invite over, but I don't have anybody right now, so I cannot change permissions. So I'm gonna do an invite authors, and I can click here and send for I'm gonna, again, it's the only email that I know, prof, so that's why I'm adding you. Okay, I'm gonna send an email invite to Prof. Gerardo, see if he accepts it. Once he does, he's gonna be part of the admins. And I can, well, he's gonna be an author, and then I can give him admin permissions too. And here in reader access, I can make it private to authors or custom readers. So, for instance, let's say that you want to make this only for the parents of a group, just make it custom to readers and you put in manually all the email accounts that are going to receive it. Kind of like, um, what can you say this? Kind of like a Google group too, like a newsletter. So I'm going to make it private to others right now. And then this is just in the ways to look, how many posts you want to show in the main page. The main page would be basically this one. So how many posts do you want to be shown right there on the screen when somebody opens up your blog? You can put, let's see here, only one, two, three here. This gives you the opportunity to say, okay, so the last three only, just three. Okay, say. And then it gives you a post template option, comments, etc. You don't need to know much about this for the certification, just need to know very few things. Most of the things that you need to know for that certification only is how to make a post, how to change the privacy settings, and let me see, how to, that's it, how to format the text in the blog. Well, you know how to use text formatting, so that's about it. So once you're done with all this, it's automatically saved. You don't need to click save at the end. You can see how it's just a menu of different characteristics, and that's it. So let's go back to posts, and this is my first post is drafted. I click on publish, and then it gives me the options right here to share. Oh, well, my case is in Spanish, but it will give you like how to share the link. Okay. And then here, how to apply labels to the post. Like I told you, let's say that I'm going to apply a label, and these labels are separate. It says separate labels by commas. So it's going to be called example, comma, not relevant. And then it's going to apply the labels right there. And I think that's it. That's all you need to know about it.
Woohoo! Excellent work with Blogger. Again, it's one of those tools you go, oh yeah, that's Google, right? Yeah, for sure.
Right.
It is. And it does have its education uses, but yeah, you pointed out it's not really for students anymore, is it?
It's not for students anymore. That's correct.
Boo.
I don't know why, to be honest. I don't have any idea how they decided that. I don't know if it's because it doesn't have too much control over the privacy or something. But since you can make it only uh, private to people who contribute to it, you can make a blog out of your students using well, you need to contact your domain administrator to give you permissions, and then
Right.
make it only for the people in the classroom have access to it and to see what they're posting, and for a sharing site. Again, I think they discontinue the use because it's not necessarily something that you need when you have Classroom, because
Right?
Classroom has all these other things that you can do.
Built right
And
in. Yeah,
it kind of made obsolete these other uses for creating a blog or creating a Google group. It's not needed because you're in the classroom, and Classroom allows you to do that.
for sure.
Um,
I
that's it.
think that answers the question, though, for sure. Like, why would they get rid of it? Well, why did they need it with Google Classroom available?
But as a teacher, if you want to have like with your PLN, you want to have somewhere where you can post things to make it available, you can create a site and embed actually the blog for you to expand on things. And you don't have to, uh, how do you say this? Be constantly checking how to make your site like new when you have embedded your blog. And the blog is only about writing a new post, and it's going to appear again in your site as a new thing. So that's one way to do it.
For sure.
Okay,
Cool. Well,
that's it.
thank you so much for covering some of those weirdo ones.
Thanks for having me. And hello, everybody. I saw some people right there. They were still saying hi at the beginning. Somebody from Malaysia, and there's Cora the corgi.
Coming to us
Hey,
from Minnesota.
yeah, that's
Minnesota.
you.
Whatever.
Minnesota. Thank you, Rick.
And Judy
I'll
was here too. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Peely. I'm gonna
Bye.
bye. I'm gonna add this to the stream because I'm gonna talk about YouTube. Woo! Hooray for YouTube. So again, this is actually a Google tool, folks. You probably forget about it because YouTube is kind of its own thing, right? But it does have lots of uses in education because, well, you can learn a lot on YouTube. So to prepare for the level 2 exam, some of the things you might want to know how to do would be upload a video, add cards to a video, and also create and manage a playlist. We will be sharing out this slide deck. Dropped in the chat is a link to Bootcamp 2022 on our website, Global GEG, but also Gerardo, who's going to be coming up soon, has created a bit.ly that I'm also going to drop in the chat. And this bit.ly is the slide deck that I'll be presenting from. Full disclosure, I did not create this stuff for YouTube. We took it from one of the founders here, Stephanie Howell. So when you see the actual slide deck, you'll see some skipped slides that have her really awesome Bitmoji on it. But I'm just going to use the slides that she created and talk through some of the stuff that you're going to want to be able to know how to do for the level 2 exam. So again, that's, can you see my cursor show up? I can't tell. Blur. There's my cursor. So things like create and lecture videos, or create and edit lecture videos, tutorials and greetings, subscribe to a channel, channels of interest to easily find educational content. All this stuff you'll be able to see when you get the slide deck that I shared a link to. So if you want to go to it, chances are you probably have this in your ribbon, this YouTube, and I see I'm not sharing that. So hold on, let me stop my share, or no, let's edit what I'm sharing. Stop screen, share, share screen, window. That's what I want. Share. Haha. All right, so we were looking at this, then I did one of these, and chances are you've got this somewhere, right? You probably have your YouTube icon. It's probably one of the things that's just default in Chrome, as it should be. So what we're going to talk about first is how to upload a video. And where you would want to do that is as you look, chances are you usually just use this part, right? This search bar right here, and you decide what you want to find. But there's this whole studio that lives right here where it says create. So it's this really neato icon right here. So chances are you've got your face, right? and you've got the little notifications, but this thing right here is create. And that's where you're going to do a lot of the stuff that is mentioned here. So upload a video, add cards and video, and create and manage playlist. So let's go to this. Let's click create. And the first one that pops up, let me embiggen this. Is it going to let me? No, it's not. Okay, now it is. When you click on this, create, one of the first things is upload video. So let's click upload video. At this point, it's going to direct you to your device where you can either drag and drop it from your desktop, or you can click one of these and select files. This one shows my MacBook, and you could look around here for a video to upload. Surely I have some video in here, but if I don't, not a big deal. You would just seek out and find a video to upload. Once you do that, it will take some time. Depending on the length of the video and the size of the video file, it could potentially take a long time to upload. But here you can see examples of some of the videos I have uploaded and the visibility. And this is an important part. You can decide from your visibility who it's made for, whether it is unlisted, meaning people can only access it by sharing the link directly with them, as well as age restriction. Not sure why I set that to 18 plus. It's not a naughty video, but whatever. You can decide the types of settings, and those are private, unlisted, public, and you can choose exactly how visible and stuff like that you want to make it once it's uploaded from this button, which says details. That's typically an edit button. Let's, for funsies, do, this was my innovator project video. So if I click on that, you can see that's me without a beard. And I think my last pair of glasses. But anyway, once you click on it, this is where you can do some of the other things that are mentioned for the exam. So for example, we talk about, oh, let's not look at that one. We talk about creating a card. So we've uploaded the video, and this is where you could potentially add a card. So you would come here, and this is where you would add in other stuff and all the video details. So here you can add a description. Here you can give it a title. This is where you can choose a thumbnail, because it's going to pick randomly the thumbnail that will display, but you can choose it. And then this is where you can decide if you want to add it to a playlist or not. This is where you can manage playlists and decide exactly how you want yours to display on your channel. This is also where you would give it an age restriction or not. Is it a paid promotion? Automatic chapters, places, language and caption certifications, recording date and location. So a lot of the metadata that comes in with any video that you want to share. Here, if you go to and along the side, this is where you can get your analytics. And by going to editor, this is where you can start editing your video. And this is where you can add cards, which is one of the tasks talked about here, adding cards to a video. You would do that by clicking on editor and then coming over here, and you can see trim and cut out, blur. So you could blur some specific data if you wanted to. You can edit the audio, you can edit the end screen, and then this is where you can add info cards. You would click on this button right here, add info cards. Let's do that. You can add a video, all this stuff, as well as links. So that's how you would add a card in to your video. Now let's talk about creating and managing playlists. Also mentioned here is how to activate your YouTube channel. You can see that my YouTube channel is already activated, but according to the slide, what it suggests you do is you activate it, which means log in, basically, and then how you would create a playlist. So let's just go back here. Let's get out of the studio, right? And you can do that by clicking your back button. This makes everything bigger or not. But another way to exit your studio is just come over here, click on your face, and go to your channel. It's going to bring you all the stuff. And if you really want to get specific, you can click this button and do that. So boom, here we go. Here's some stuff. You can tell clearly I've looked at some Stranger Things stuff recently. But let's go to one of my favorite channels by Fonz. Right now, I think he's live doing a My EdTech Life. So let's go to click on his channel. That brings him up. And let's talk about what it mentions in the slide deck, how you would create a playlist. So let's pick one of his videos, one of his live interviews. Let's just pick one that he's done. That's him. Of course, there's going to be ads because it is an ad-supported thing, but I'm just going to pause it here and come over here, right here, down at the bottom. See underneath it where you've got your likes, your dislikes, your share, your download, and right here, this button right here is how you would save. So you click that, and then you can decide where you want to save it. Do you want to save it to your watch later? Do you want an existing playlist, or this is where you would create a new one? You can create your playlist here, and then you can decide on the privacy. Do you want it public so anyone can find your playlist? Do you want it unlisted, or do you want it private? And this is where you could potentially share out your playlists. So this gives you a chance to create playlists that you can use in your class. Like Judy mentions here, she doesn't know what you do without playlists. Me either, Judy. With playlists, you can create stuff that you can go back later for research, or share it out with your students as like, here's what you need to do to research to get ready for whatever topic you're talking about or whatever. But this is where you would create your playlist. So I'm going to label this one Best My Ed Tech Life videos. Let's just call it that. Create. I'm going to leave it private just for me, or no, I'll make it unlisted so I can then potentially share this with my students, but it doesn't necessarily get taken. Not taken, but like found. So there, I've created that playlist. Let's go back and add another one to it. Let's pick, I don't know, get that one. Boom. There, I can click on it again. We'll send it to this. And as you can see, the different levels are listed right here. Can I make that bigger? I can't embiggen that. Oh, now I can. So watch later is listed like this. Locked, meaning it's private. It's just me. This one is only with the link, and this one anyone can find. So let's add it there. Let's get smaller and smallin'. All right. So there, that looks good. Let's add it to that one. Nope, back to that. And you see it popped up in the bottom when I took it off. Added to, removed, added to, removed. All right, so there's that. And then just for fun, something I think is pretty neat, right here, I can press that button. And now it's just playing over here in my corner. But, close player. I can also click that button, and now it's just automatically added to my watch later. So that's something you can do right there. What did Peely write? She wrote, I have playlists of all my contributions to other channels also to share on my CV. That's a good idea. So you can just share your playlist of, here's all the things I've presented on. That's very cool. Let's add this gentleman right here, which is playing live right now. Let's just add it to Best of My EdTech Life. Bada bing, bada boom. Awesome. So that is how you would create a playlist. And this one, it suggests making it 3. If they were still doing the whole things you would have to demonstrate for the exam, you'd create the playlist and add a description and set your playlist to public. So I did not do that for my playlist, but if I wanted to, I could come here. Oh, those are my subscriptions. Where are my playlists? Here it is. I can come in here and I can decide if I need to make this public or not. So here's my playlist settings, allow embedding, da 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 da. I can add a description if I want. I can change what I'm calling it. And right here on this drop-down menu, I can make it public or private. So that's how you can do that even after the fact of creating your playlist. So let's also move on to some of the other stuff that is mentioned in the slide deck that I didn't create. You would upload a video to your YouTube channel, showed you how you could do that. Give it a title and description, showed you how to do that in the create. Again, the create button is all that stuff is going to be found here under create for your channel, right? Then give it a title, make the video private, which I showed you how to do that as well. Click the video you'd like to edit. Click the cards box so you can add cards. And then finally change the start time for the card below the video. So that's some of the stuff you can do within cards. Here is a link. Again, shared out that bit.ly earlier in the chat. Otherwise, you can find it also on our YouTube channel. But you can click on this for more support for YouTube. And this is just the YouTube help, which is pretty cool. And can you imagine? They have YouTube videos on what you can do to make search YouTube better and how to use YouTube better on your channel. Let's delete that. We don't need that one up. And then finally, this is some more stuff. Here's some more videos or more directions you can do or things you could try to do. But uploading a video showed you how to do that. Make the video private. See, this one had you. Oh, it also said private. Is this just the same stuff again? It looks like it is. Anyway, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to Gerardo, who is going to come up and talk about books. But before we move on, does anyone have any questions about YouTube? Again, you've heard of it.
I just wanted to say that those slides that you have right there with like step-by-step thing are going to be very helpful for when you do your certification in some of the questions. Now that they are in a different way that you don't have to make scenarios, they can ask you for order of things. And so people can go over this when they access our slide deck to see what is the order in which you're going to have to do like step-by-step the things that you showed us, right?
Absolutely. In fact, if I throw this up, also in the slide deck that they'll have access to, it's hidden from the presentation. Oh, Gerardo just pulled it off. I'm going to put it back up and then I'll add his thing back in. But you can see hidden are the really cool things that are clearly made by Stephanie Howell, but it gets into even more specifics, right? So I didn't present on this
That
part.
is correct.
There's Steph, straight out of YouTube. I've often thought she has much street cred, but let's go ahead and bring up Gerardo, who is ready to go, and he's going to talk about books. Oh, and that was Peely again. And I'm just gonna, before we move on, I want to talk about Gerardo. He is a GEG mentor, which means if you want to create a GEG and you're in the Latin American countries, he's the guy you talk to. This guy right here. So there's Gerardo. He's also a level 1, level 2, and a trainer and a leader of GEG Campeche. I probably said that wrong, but I'll let you take it away. He's going to talk about books and some other stuff, and it's going to be great. Bye. I'm going to just pop in here. I think you're still muted. But yep, there you are.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, I appreciate your introduction, Rick, and I would like to help everyone who needs to create a DG group in their region, in your country, because when we work together to found to new DG groups, we are making collaboration to a new level, to the next level, like here we are doing in global DG. So I love my I love my job. I am a teacher too, and I am a consultant. I used to be CIO in a university where we got the lucky and the result of was to be the first reference university of Google. So I love Google and I am using it from many years ago. And I am glad to be with you now. So I'm going to talk about books and I'm going to talk about another tool later about Google Scholar. Books is one of tools that allows us to find different stuff and texts that are, have been scanned, and we can find from for Google, and we can find then a full text of books and magazines and convert to text, and it is stored in a digital database. We can find many books or excerpts from many books with the authorization of the editors and the publicators. So maybe we can find full text books or just a part of those texts that encourages us to buy them or to consult them in other resources. So when you need find some reference and some book that you can add value to your teaching practice or your investigation journey, you can find good results in books. So you can see books from your Google search. I'm gonna open another tab. So here I can find some search and try to find some books. I tried with ludification and I can go to more and find those books. My search take me then to books, or you can go to through typing in your Omnibox booksgoogle.com. So the same search I did it here, you can do it in this tab. Let me do again. So search will be in the same site, books. So you can find then many books related with the search that I did. So I'm gonna take of my one of my selections, but before do this, I showed you the filter views that you can use. You can select any view for any kind of books or magazines. You can select preview and full view. In this case, the books from Routledge doesn't seem that you can see all the view, and you can ask for full preview. So you can select the filter that you need for your search. You can too apply for books, magazines, or newspapers. So, if I am searching just for articles in magazines, I can select this. So, in this case, there are no notifications for magazines. Let me see for newspapers. Yeah, there are some articles in newspapers, but if I look for books, certainly I will get some other results. In this case, you can select to the range of your search to establish which time period you need, which time range you need to use for your selection, for your search. I select 21st century, okay, but I can select any of these uh, filters. So I can clear two and get down all the filters that I have selected. So when you make a search in books, you can find wherever you want if it is available for you. So we can access to the titles. I am taking this book, and you can find the scanned text for the book. In this case, we can find that word I searched 3 of 7 times in this book. So you can look over the pages, but now you can see that there's some pages that aren't unavailable. So you are you are watching just a little part or a great part depending of the editor of the book. Otherwise, you are directed to book get the book or to view the ebook, and you can look for them for it. That's it. You can preview the book in an ebook format, and you can buy it. So, two, you will get your books in your library for later review, for post review. So you can add this book to my favorites or my reading now or to read or have read. I am adding to my library in favorites. This book has been bookmarked for my library. On the left panel, you can see my library. And in my library, you can see too some of these shelves. In my library, I have shelves to accommodate my books. And if I select my shelf of favorites, there I can see twice online gaming and playful organization. So you can order, okay? You can watch different views of your books. You can see this, or maybe like other, and you can see all your books. So you can see, for this example, one of Shelver and all series that you have. I have here my books, and I can create new shelves for my library. So I'm going back to my library, not in Google Play, and I can find now in my favorites the book I just searched. I'm gonna open the book, and I can make some actions for this preview. I can find illustrations, I can find other editions, common terms and phrases, and I can to learn about the author. And of course, if you need one citation, you can find here deep text and note in Redman, where if you select or click one of the citations, you have an export file to find the citations for your needed. If you are making an investigation or you just want to cite this, you can do that. So if I select deep text, now I will have one file downloading with the great information about the citation. So you can find in your slide deck these actions, you can find the filters, you can find about my shelf and my shelves and my library, and you can find that I can read the different bibliographic information and export citation in books. Books is a great resource to have access to many books that those are in bookstore, Google Play, or just scan it in a very big database of text for Google. So I think that you have used any time or at least one time books to search some of your interests, and maybe if you look for a book in particular, you can find them. What about online learning? It's that fashion topic today, and we can find here text from John Bibolo. So I can view book, get the book in print, and of course I can read the text who is available in my preview. And of course, if you want to see, you can see some of the reviews that users have made for the books you are searching or you are reading. So, this is the magic of books, and you can find it in a great way to use your different books in your bookstore. So I forgot to say that many of these slides were taken from another bootcamp, and I have to thanks to Gina and I, I have to remember who else is the guy who made these slides, but I am using them. So you can find about books in your slide deck. And now I am going to talking about Scholar. This is another big tool and great tool, not whatever any tool like Blogger or others that Pili has talked about, but Scholar is really great to find some academic titles and work that isn't published or is published only on the academic section, and you can find from many authors, and you can upload or reference your works too. So you can make researches in this site about Google Scholar, and you can save them to your library too. You will have a library with different labels, and you can cite from here too. And of course, you can share all your stuff that you were looking for. So let me go to make a search. I'm gonna type Scholar, Google or Google Scholar, and I will find the site of scholargoogle.com. There you have to access, if you have never get into, you have to create a profile and you have to access with your account. Now I have an account with my personal account, and this account give me a profile where you can find some of the contributions that are indexed and appear just when I make my profile. So you can, if you have some stuff published in some websites, in some university or college websites, or books or articles databases, you can find them when you create your profile. So you can make your profile and you can make some searches from here. What about make a search about virtual learning? Biome, that's good. So I had then there the search I did with those terms, and you can find the site where it comes and the type of resource is it. I have here PDF, I have here maybe some books or some web pages where I can find the information I was searching for. And this is not your library, but this is your search window. How can I add an interesting article to my library? I just have to select this beautiful star. When I select this star, I, I am invited to set to my library and to create a label to identify. I can create a new label and establish virtual environments. So I make it done, and the article is saved to my library now in one of my categories or my labels. So if I go to my library, I will find there the new brand label that I created just a minute ago. So if you have different to classify your articles say. So you can find two with the labels, you can find two a time select to get wherever you want within this label. So you can go to make some alerts to making an alert that will get to your mail when the topic that you write in the query. What about health, wealth, and most relevant results when you when somebody publish about health, I will receive a, an alert in my mail, to get the results found in the search. So I can see the alerts, I can see my profile and my library. But when you got it and you have a very good resource, you can to cite it. So you can select some of these wonderful sites in different systems to get in your investigations, to get in your articles, or to cite them in your papers. So you can find and copy some of these sites. And you can too see the number of sites that have those resources, the related articles, and obviously, if there have two or more versions, you can see here how many versions, and you can see the versions of this article that you can review. So you can find any kind of resources here within your Google Scholar. And of course, you can search into my library to find them quickly, and of course, not having to check all my labels. So you can use too the labels and the time filters to review your saved articles. So Google Scholar, as Billy said, it's really a great partner when you are doing some kind of studies, you are going to college or you are making your master's, and you can learn from these resources and get free, because all of them are academic resources. That's the way of Google Scholar. So I think you will find in your slide deck what is it for, how can you save an article, of course, how can you cite an article, and the custom range or the filters that you can do with your books in your library. So, if you look for Leonardo da Vinci, you can find many of these things. And I think I'm going so fast, so I bring Patrick's slides now. But I would like to know, before going with Patrick, if there's any question that you could have. But I really love Scholar to make my investigation work.
I
That's all, Rick.
Yeah, that was great. There aren't a ton of questions in the chat. I think everyone's agreed though that Scholar super helpful when you're doing any sort of advanced degrees. Something I always like to mention when we talk Google Scholar is I was doing another master's a couple of years ago during the switch from APA 6 to APA 7, and Google Scholar already updated it. So I would be posting stuff and it would show up in APA 7, but my professors wanted APA 6 because Google Scholar is just right on top of it. As soon as that switch happened, Google Scholar did it, but my professors hadn't. But that was super duper fantastic. We're going to keep this train a moving. You can't stop it. We're going to move on to search, and thank you, Gerardo. That was super duper fantastic. But let's bring up Patrick, who is going to be talking about search and maps. So before I bring him on, I got to do his fancy introduction because he's kind of all the things ed tech. He is a Google certified trainer. He's a Google certified innovator, and he's runs P House EDU. I always want to call it Faust EDU, but it's P House like his name EDU, as well as Unison EDU, and he can tell you more about those things. But he is like a EdTech all-star, and he's here and he's going to present on search and maps. So let's bring him in. Hey, Patrick, you're in. And muted, I think. Was I muted? Oh, that would be a bummer. Was I muted this? No, I wasn't.
There we go. Am I back?
No, well, I thought I was muted too, because I've been known to do that, and no one will say anything to me. But you're here.
There we go.
I'm gonna let you take it away.
Sounds good. And if we can switch to my screen share, and then we will be off and running. But I'm Patrick Hausman, and as Rick was saying, I do run a nonprofit. I'm also part of a nonprofit in Visti, and really, I comes down to I say yes to a lot of things that I maybe should pass on some of them, but I like being busy. I like sharing. I like doing a lot of these different things. So as we go through here, you're going to notice that there's a number of things in the slides. We'll bounce in and out of the slides because I really want to do more of a live demo than anything. So I want to make sure that as we're sharing, you're actually seeing the things versus me just talking about them. And you'll notice I look up and down because my comments are actually on my lower monitor. So if you see me looking down, that's where I have one monitor, and then I'm actually sharing via the one up on the top. But you'll notice we're going to start with search. We're going to tiptoe our way then straight into maps and do a little bit of Google Earth goodness too, that are all things that are possible on the level 2. We'll go fairly quickly through a number of the search things because I think search is probably the more well-known of the various tools we'll look at today. But we'll look at a few things that hopefully maybe you didn't see before or maybe are a little bit new to you. So one of the first things to do is to pop open a Google search, do a quick search on screen here, and we'll zoom in just a little bit, make this a little bigger, a little easier to see. And as we just saw in the last presentation, you have a strip of tools up here that you can get into, and we know that you can hit that more, and that's where we found books. Notice that you can also find maps in there, which will be handy as we look a little bit deeper down into some of the tools. But one of the first things that Google kind of wants you to be familiar with, and we hit this a little bit in that last one, but just in case you missed it, you do have tools there where you can then set the time, and we noticed that you could set that custom range. You can also change it here in the results so that it is everything or it is verbatim, so that those words have to come the exact same way. You can always clear those searches very easily. Another thing that Google once pointed out here as a thing is if you have an Android phone or if you use the Gboard keyboard on your phone, you're going to notice this search by voice via this microphone at the top. So I could hit that. It'll tap into the microphone on my device, and I could search basically doing voice to type. So it's going to go ahead and type it in for me. As we come back over here, you'll notice that we looked at a little bit of this, but the usage rights as far as copyright, different things like that, don't really come in on this side of things. They actually come in a little bit more on the image side of a search. So you'll notice that we have all our images like we normally would, but if we hit tools now, that banner of options is going to change completely from what we saw when we were on the information side of a search. Now we can search by size or limit our results by size. One of the biggest recommendations I have on any project I do with students is to come in here as soon as they search for an image, hit size and click large. And that usually guards against having those super pixelated images that come in presentations and things. So a great thing to check out there. But you'll notice we do have usage rights now on our right-hand side here, where we can look for and have it return only things that come back on Creative Commons licenses or commercial or other licenses. So we can get it so they're all much more freely easy to use. And I see it popped up in the comments. I logged onto the computer yesterday and it said, do you want to see what Google search looks like in dark mode? And I said, yes, I do. So that is how dark mode became a thing, but it should be available. If you search it out, you'll be able to get there. One other thing I'll hit here while we're on this screen, if you click on color, notice that transparent is an option there. And that is an awesome thing if you're doing presentations or different things so that you can get the image that doesn't have that checkered background behind it or that doesn't have the ability to go ahead and put it in a presentation with the white around it or some sort of border. Searching for transparent makes it so every one of these pictures that comes up is going to have it so that you have no background whatsoever around it. Another thing I'll point out while we're on this screen, you'll notice there's a wee little camera icon up here in the search bar. If I click on that, you'll notice that this is where the reverse image search lies. So I can paste a URL in and it'll backtrack the image that way. Or I can go to upload an image, actually choose a file, and it's going to be able to search for that image out on the internet, which is going to be able to then trace it back to a source it actually came from, versus where a lot of our students will come in and say, hey, I got this image, and every one of their citations is it came just from Google. It was out on Google. Usually, as we know, about 99% of the time, that image didn't come straight from Google. It came from another website somewhere else. So that reverse image search is super nice to be able to backtrack that and actually get a website for the image. If we close one of our tabs here, because we don't need that one anymore, one other thing that Google points out is just learning to use the Omnibox and kind of utilize it to its fullest, know some of the tips and tricks that you can do with it. And this page is super helpful for doing that. It is simply a Google search help page. Also a great resource as you're prepping for the exam. Any one of the help sites is going to be a super resource for you. But you can see here at the top of just trying to be simple with your words. Instead of searching like, where is the closest possible thing here, you can just search for like airport, or you can search for bakery and a location. And those two words is going to get you the same thing as typing like a full sentence in. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit more here, just towards the bottom, and just point out a couple things here of things it tells you not to worry about. We all know that our phones love to autocorrect us. A lot of times it's not necessarily the autocorrect that we want, but you can see like spelling doesn't matter as long as the error is not horrible. Just leave it there, search it. Capitalization doesn't matter. And then as we come down through the bottom here, you'll see just some quick things of searching for weather. You just include weather in the place, it'll search it up. If you're doing calculations, if you're doing unit conversions, a lot of those things can be done through an instant search in that Omnibox. And if we happen to have a math teacher watching, one of the things I always point out there as well is you can actually put fairly complicated equations into the Omnibox for a search, and Google will solve them nearly instantly and graph them for you. So definitely something to think about. There's so much that you can do in there. You can see you have other options down here at the bottom. There's more search operators and different things that you can think of to use. And if I drop down just a little bit in our slides here, you can see this comes from somebody I've co-presented this chunk for before in the past with, Dr. Rachel Johnson. You can see she put a nice graphic up there for you, some different things that you can do to kind of instantly search in that box and find things, get results back in a very nice way, a very quick way, versus searching, clicking, researching, and narrowing that way. Some of the times you can use some of these modifiers, some of these operators, and get straight to that information in one search, and you're going to be right there, including searching for images. And notice when you do any of these searches, and this is the only one I'll point out here, if we're searching for something we're trying to limit at the same time, notice how there's no spaces in that spot that says image size, and then you type in the exact thing that you want afterwards. It's very important that as you do some of these things like that, that you put spaces exactly where they need to be. Don't put them where they shouldn't be. We hit a lot of these things in the slides, but we'll use this as our roadmap to make sure we're hitting the items that we really need to. And you can see here, one of the first things we wanted to hit was just making sure we knew the filters. And that's really anytime you do a search, whether it's for information, whether it's for images, always look for that little tools button that's going to hang off to the side so that you can see what possible options are there and how you can drill down to get less results so you get to the stuff you want quicker, the stuff you need faster. Another item we want to look at in the world of search is the advanced search. There's a few different ways to get to it. I've kind of gotten to the point where if I'm going to use it, I usually just bookmark the link and have the advanced search there ready to go. You can get to it from the regular search screen as well. So if me saying I bookmark it is not your route, go the route that works for you. But what this advanced search does is give you a whole lot of those ways that you could limit by typing text in and using colons and spaces the right way. A lot of those different search operators or modifiers are going to be built into this screen. So instead of saying, putting something in quotes so it only searches the exact thing, I can kind of cheat using this screen and type it in this box instead of on a regular search putting quotes around it. But one of the big things I love about this page when I look at it with students or I look at it with teachers is that they give you this cheat sheet down the right-hand side. So you can know, how would I just do this if I wanted to type it into the Omnibox instead of using this page? It tells you exact words, put quotes around it. If you want this thing or another thing, it tells you how to do that here. So it's awful nice there to be able to make that happen. And I'll zoom in here a little bit more so that we can see things a little bit clearly, because I know, as I see in the chat there, that the dark mode makes it a little harder to see. So I'll make sure that it's a little bigger, a little clearer that way. And then after the fact, I'll figure out how to kill the dark mode, because I don't see it necessarily prevalent right here jumping out to me. But you can see as we come down, all of the different options you have to be able to use, including changing your language and things at the top. If you want to search for only an EDU site or only a .gov site, you can find all of
Hi.
those things right there. Yep.
I'm sorry, Patrick, to interrupt you. There's a couple of people on the chat saying that if you could change these to turn off the dark mode, if it's possible.
Let's do it live on here. I don't see the setting jumping out, but let me see if I can.
I think you go to the search app and like say google.com, and then in settings on the bottom, it lets you turn off the dark
There we
mode.
go.
Yeah, thanks.
That'll work. Now we're in business. Thank you. But really pointing out this page is really twofold. Number one, showing you how you can get to these different things, but also on the flip side, knowing that as you do it, and let me refresh this so it gets rid of that dark mode, use it as a teaching lesson, not only for you, but also on your student side of all these things that shows you how to do the different things on the right-hand side. For instance, I can type .gov over here on the side. I can come up and say, I only want Abraham Lincoln up here. And we'll correct the spelling on both of them, evidently. And then we'll just hit the advanced search, just so you can see how that comes back. Notice that it automatically formatted the search for me in the top. And then every page I have coming up after that, they're all .gov. So it makes it a lot easier to do if you don't know those things, but at the same time, it teaches you how to do them. On that same line, there is also an advanced image search page where, again, it teaches you those things down the right-hand side. It teaches you a lot of things like, I want to search for this. I don't want these results included, and that's done with the dash you see here in front of that search. But also how we looked at the images with that tools menu, you can see all of those options are here, including the image size, transparent background, all the way down to and including those usage rights. So whichever way you want to do it, by typing in or customizing in the search box or coming here, just know that there's multiple avenues for you to get to those advanced searches to, again, just make things a little easier, trim up the number of results, and hopefully make it so those results you get coming back are just more pinpointed to what you need. All in the effort of finding more of that precious thing a lot of us always need more of in time. Hopefully learning some of these tricks, teaching your students some of these tips and tricks, again, can save you time. And in this case, knowing them, learning some of them can help you with that level 2 test. One other thing in the world of search to know about is Google Trends. And it is all about trends.google.com. And I just see one item coming in there about type of image. And if I come back here, you can change the type of image here into like clip art, different things like that. You should be able to. It's not on this page as far as like .png, things like that, but you could try and use that into the image search itself, like .png : and then search, see if it works that way. I will say, if you mark transparent as you do the search, a lot of the times doing transparent is only going to return PNG files. So if you're looking for a PNG, using transparent will be a good way to try and get some of that back, so you only get that. And then we'll bump right through to here. And please flag me down if there's more questions I miss as I'm kind of looking at different screens. But Google Trends is all about seeing what is trending in searching all around the world. So what are people typing in that Omnibox the most? And there's a lot of different things you can do here. We won't dive deeply into any of them really, but notice that I can click in the top here, do a search, and go through that way. And then as we come through there, you can see some of the things that are trending the most right now, as far as a lot of people evidently in the past 7 days in the US at least are searching Kim Kardashian and Taylor Swift, but there's a fairly decent line that transitions there, except for a one outlier up here in New York, I believe. But you can see looking for football, things like that, as the seasons, at least in the US, a lot of our pro football teams are starting to do off-season practices to get ready. And you can see we have recently trending things, the year in search, which is really cool to check out. If you've never seen that, you can check it out. And there's usually a nice little summative video that shows you a lot of those topics. It can be really cool. It can be really powerful depending on what's happened during that course of the year and what people we've lost during the course of that year. And other than these sections that you see here, being able to check any of these, and you can click on any of them and really zoom into the data. For instance, the World Cup football competition, which would spin it more towards football as in soccer versus American football. But you can see the interest over time, interest by region, and notice that a lot of these things are downloadable. So if you needed data for a project or something like that, you could actually come in here, pull some of these different pieces of data and actually use that in a project. And you can actually even pull in another set of data and compare those things side by side. You can adjust whether you're looking worldwide, you're looking in a certain country. You can look at how much time you want to go back in that data to analyze. You can see you have different categories that you can look at, all the way down through and including what type of search and things people were using. And that's just the Explore section. If we pop open our side menu here, you're going to notice that you have Explore. You also have trending searches. So if you want to know, like right now, what are the biggest things? If you're in the US or you've seen news from the US, you know a lot of couple of our big lottery things have gone up fairly high. Powerball, I'm surprised, is the big one here because it is actually the Mega Millions. If we come down here, that I believe went up to over $1 billion as far as the lottery side. But you can see some of those things that are the biggest searches. And this is right now just tracking it by day. And that's all in the trending searches. If I click over to real time instead, you'll be able to see literally in the past 24 hours or as close to right now as possible, what is the biggest thing people are searching for. Coming down from there, as we saw on that top page, we have the year in search. We have the ability to play the video right here at the top. We can see the very top things in different categories that people were looking at. And then last but not least, you can actually subscribe. I have no subscriptions right now, but if I came down to the bottom, hit plus, I could type in the topic that I want to know about. I want those trends sent to me, and then I can tell it how often I want those things sent my way. But Google Trends is just a cool way to see different data pieces in the world of search. And again, you can start with an example and just see what that looks like. You can always add in more comparisons, add in more people. And I really like the fact that you can download it and actually then functionally use it in projects and things and not just consume that data. You can actually take it forward, use it in a useful way. And you can see as we come back here in the slides, we tried to put a few different GIFs in for you so you can get an idea of what that looks like, even not on the site itself. And then a real quick snapshot of what each section of those different things looks like. And it's really cool. I failed to mention in the year in search, it actually goes all the way back to the early 2000s. So you can really dive back and really get a cool idea of what was trending and all those cool searches throughout the historical side of things. And that really wraps up our chunk here on search. There's a few more links and resources built in for you there to help you look at a few more things. Number one, that you can do in the Omnibox as far as some different instant searches that you can do. One thing I will point out, at the time of this presentation, one of our teachers' favorite instant searches is currently not working. I don't know why it broke, how it broke, but you used to be able to come to your Google search and type in 5-minute timer. And as a lot of you would know, it would pop right up, give you a timer that would count down and a stopwatch option. At least as of right now, I've not been able to figure out why that's broken, but a lot of our teachers miss that. But know that at least right now in these different searchings, that's something that is currently not functioning. But all of these other ones that I've checked are, including if you have some time to kill and you want to annoy some people, you can type in what does the, and put an animal in, say, and you'll get a whole list of things, and you can finally find out, if you didn't know already, what the fox says. Whole bunch more tips and tricks there for you, but again, we don't want to go a ton of different things there. And I see, thank you for the tip in the sidebar there. It says if we type in online timer, it should still work. So let's try that. Let's see. We'll play with it. We'll see what the issue is on my side, but we'll play with it, and hopefully Google will fix it one way or the other so that it works in ways that a lot of us are used to getting it at. Our next section here is all about Google Maps, and we're going to tiptoe through Maps as well as My Maps, which is a slightly different variation, and then on the flip side, one last one in Google Earth, and we'll go through them fairly quickly. Again, get you some of those necessities, but we'll share out these slides on the Global GEG website. So you'll have all the links, you'll have all the ways to do more of a deep dive if you want, but also you'll be able to contact us if you want, because a lot of our presenters, all of us are out there online, out there on Twitter. You can connect us up. And I saw another great tip come into the chat there. If you happen to miss it on the YouTube side, there is a slides timer add-on within Google Slides that can be a great kind of addition or a great substitute while that timer is down for us. As we jump into Maps, one of the big things to first point out, first thing to look at, is the fact that Maps is different from Google My Maps. So as you see different things come up, as you're studying, as you get into that exam, know that they are very much two different things. So if we're in Maps itself, if we search for something we were thinking about maybe visiting soon here is an aquarium close to us, I can search for that in Maps. I can get my directions as I normally would for my driving directions. But at the same time, I can change the way that I get those directions. If I go back here once to that search page, you'll also see that I can save that, and that'll save into my Google account so I can come back to it. I can also see what's nearby. One of my favorite things is I can send it to my cell phone, so I can very quickly then jump back into directions. But another thing to think about and know here in the world of Maps is our buddy Pegman down here in the bottom right, which is how we can get to Street View. Any map where I see Pegman hanging out down there at the bottom, I can pull him off, and then anywhere that I see either these blue dots or these blue lines, I can drop him and jump myself into Street View. So I'm going to try and get him on one of these dots and drop him in. And you can see that I'm not only on the water, I may actually be under it because I seem to be in a sub, which is pretty cool. Or I'm at least in the lower part of a ship, likely the one right here that I dropped in next to. But you can see ultimately any of these different places, I can bring Pegman, I can drop him down. And then if I see the arrow here come up, that means I can actually walk around and see what it would be like right there in Baltimore when I could go and visit. And you can see at any point, I can drop a pin so I can know where I was. I can print, I can also share it or embed it. So I can always get back to those different places I go to. But this is your main kind of things that people use Maps for. It's a lot for directions, sending that location to a device, saving that location. You also notice our strip of tools here across the top, where you can look at restaurants and hotels and different things that are in that area where I've dropped myself. So, and just remember, this is Maps. When we switch over to My Maps, it's going to look a little bit different. And great point out there in the chat that there is Google Maps on the app side as well for both Android and iOS on the Apple side. Although if you're a diehard Apple Maps fan, you probably won't want it. But if you want to play in the world of Google, you can always download that app too. So as we switch over, you'll notice that this screen is Google My Maps. At least initially, obviously, this is a different screen. This isn't quite the same thing that we've looked at before. The other thing to point out as far as how we get to My Maps, you'll notice in my address bar, this website is google.com/maps/d, should bring you to this screen. If we come over to Google Drive and we go to New and we go to More, you're also going to see My Maps there. So Maps in that regard is definitely different than just Google Maps, because you can't find just plain Google Maps anywhere in Drive. You can't do a lot of creation with it. Google My Maps is going to be different in the regard that I can actually come into my Maps and create custom maps. I can input data and I can see what that data looks like plotted out. And I'll go to this one here that is ones that have just been shared out online to give you an idea of what it looks like. So in My Maps, you can see not only can I draw shapes, I can draw pins, I can draw arrows, and then each one of those locations that I come to, I could actually type in information. I could add links in there if I wanted to, and I could actually make this much more of an interactive map than just going to Google Maps and having a fairly static thing. Yes, I can drop Pegman over in Maps, but here I can actually create an entire kind of experience versus just a kind of static zooming around looking at different things. One of the ones, and it hasn't been updated real recently, you can see it's back a few years, but somebody actually took the time to go through the 007 movies, the James Bond movies, and plot where those different movies happened around the world. And again, they just because you can doesn't mean they have. In, for instance, here, I can't really click on these names and get more information because they just didn't put more there. But you could absolutely do that. I could search different locations while I'm in here, and I can turn off different layers depending on what I want to see. So you can see that this experience, and we'll go ahead and just go into this test map. This is quite a different experience than just the regular maps. Still the same kind of look. If I were to zoom in, I'm going to eventually get to where I see the road starting to come up. And if I kept going in, it's going to look very, very similar to the experience that I had before, except for this whole editing pane that I have here on the left-hand side, to where I can add different layers. I can share this map and collaborate and actually create with it. What I did to bring in this data right here is actually use this import option, because I can come over to my Google Drive and I can actually have a CSV of data in my Google Drive ready for me to bring in. And I'll just click on one of these samples that I have, and it's going to walk me through how to plot those points from my CSV file. I won't bring it in again because that's these exact same points, so we wouldn't really see a difference. But you can see that CSV file had these different cities in the state of Virginia, where they rank in population, as well as what that population was. And you can see that data was at least a little outdated there. But through each one of these things, I could change the style of that marker. I could make it different colors. I could change the icon. I can even create my own custom icon and upload it. So there's a lot of different nice creative pieces here that you and students can use. And I can also hit the pencil icon to edit the different pieces of text. You'll notice I have the camera options so that I could add images or videos. And again, you can share this out, whether you want to collaborate and share it, or whether you want to share it out for people to just view. A lot of different things that you can do in here and play with more on, again, on that creation side versus just consuming. And that's not even all the different tools. Obviously, we have a few more across the top here where we can drop markers, we can draw lines, we can even measure distances. One of the cool things that I saw, one of the first times I saw this tool kind of explored and used, is somebody that drew the shape of Greenland here, which is what this outline is. and then drug it down off of where Greenland is so that students could get an idea of what the size of Greenland actually is if we remove that map distortion. Because it's one thing to say that maps distort and things look different, but to actually nail it home here so students can see it makes a huge difference, drawing this shape that is Greenland, fairly close to the outline, and then pulling it down so they see, oh, wow, that's not as huge as it looks. It's still big. It's just not as big as what I maybe thought it was. So again, know that difference between your maps and my maps. Know what that street view is and how you can drop Pegman in and kind of play a little bit on that side of things. And then last but not least, depending on how fast it loads up for us, we'll do a little bit of a tiptoe into Google Earth here, which is the web version, which is earth.google.com. It'll work on a wide range of devices. It is internet intensive though, so definitely remember that. Think about how your internet is before you do a deep dive into playing. But you'll notice here, it'd be a little hard to drop him here, but you'll notice I do have Pegman, and even at this world view, I can bring Pegman up and drop him somewhere if I wish, and it's going to control Google Earth here as well, and it's going to take me in and drop me somewhere on this island. So you can see it's a pretty cool thing to be able to do that in both places. And then if it is a place where somebody has, in this case, taken a photosphere, you're going to be able to explore and look at that place as if you were there. And this looks like it would be a pretty cool hike to do as long as you're fairly good on the height side of things. In the world of Google Earth, lots of different cool things that you can do here. We won't hit a ton of them. The big thing that we want to point out is this sidebar. And the first stop in here is Voyager. And oddly enough, I just said about a great hike. But you can see Voyager is all about different flying tours and informational things that have been put together by Google themselves, or different educational, in some cases, partners that have made them. But they're all published. They're all well thought out, good information, good images. This one is all about great hikes around the world. And you can see I can scroll through down here on my right-hand side. I can click into this tour at any time, and I can get my information. I have multiple pages of information I can check out with this one. I can always bring up my table of contents to zoom out somewhere else. And you can see anytime that I have these lines, I can actually walk around. And that's just tapping us into, jumping us right into Street View without us having to drop Pegman around. If I come back to the home page of Voyager here, you're going to see there's a ton of different things that are created out here for you and for students to explore. I love pointing this out for all of those different tabs, including the education tab, where I can show people, even in the world of math here, that you can jump to different shapes all around the world that you can use this for. For instance, triangular structures, looking at the geometry of castles. Why are they built certain ways? Why are archways an archway versus being square? Why would they do different things the way they do? Why are there so many triangles in this structure? Why would they build it that way? And you can start some fairly good conversations. And it's really just cool to see how these things are put together, because usually I bring this up as a intro into the next thing we'll check out here briefly in our side panel of Earth, and that is projects. The really cool thing about showing people Voyager, how it works, how it looks, is the fact that students can then come in and create their very own tour exactly like what they saw, using some of those same images, some of those different places. With just a few clicks, I can come in and start a project. And then just through this new feature button right here on the left, I can go ahead and search for places. And we'll just say, I have no idea if I'll spell it right, but Google will help me. We'll say, go to the Eiffel Tower. It's going to automatically zoom in to the Eiffel Tower for me. It'll try and guess kind of the view I want. I could always drop Pegman and change it. If I want it to go to my project, I just hit add project. And the really nice thing is that my students can then come in, hit replace. They can customize the text. They could add an image that they want. They can also customize what that place mark looks like, and really customize not only this view, but what the text is that comes in about that item. And then you can notice, and we won't go through all these options. We want to keep this short and sweet, but you can add place marks. We can draw lines. You can put a folder of information, a full screen slide. You can also do an overlay. If you want to see something really cool, we won't cover it here. If you search for Google Earth historical map overlay, you can see Google Earth as you normally would with a ton of different historical maps and just see how those different maps have evolved over time. Obviously, I would have put more things in here to really flush it out. But once I then hit present, it would take me through my different stops on my tour. And we can see that I have that table of contents at the bottom. Right now, I only have that one place and I didn't put text in, but I could add all of those different elements so that my tour that I created would legitimately look and feel much like these, because I could have my title slide with my text. They would then hit a start button and my tour could look exactly like this with a video built in. And in this one, instead of just having one stop, it has 26. And I would just click through this one. And again, the tour I or my students create could look exactly like this and have a really cool project towards the tail end that is both shareable while we're working on it to collaborate, and then shareable out so that people can view it, interact with it, and really be able to walk their way through the story. So lots of different cool things that you can do in maps, my maps, all the way through and including Street View goodness in any of those, including Google Earth. If you're interested in more Googly Geo goodness, there's a number of links here that you can play with and get into. The last thing I will leave you with as something to play with, if you've never seen it, played with it before, is Google Arts and Culture. It's kind of a tangent to maps because it is all about bringing the amazing things that exist in museums around the world to one place online where you and your students can explore and play. But you can see tons of different content, tons of different museums all around the world, and content that you and your students can explore, including games and different experiments that are brought in, and ways for being a teacher in a small town rural school, ways for my students to see lots of places around the world, and actually as if they're walking around them in these cases, where my students could hit this Pegman button and go to this museum in Hong Kong and actually walk around as if they were there, walk up to paintings and zoom in on them and see all these different things as if they were there. And the last part I'll share with you here is if you search Learn with Arts and Culture, you'll hit this amazing page here that'll give you not only by subject how you might be able to use arts and culture, but downloadable lesson plans and ready-made virtual field trips. And if you wondered where a lot of those virtual field trips went when Google Expeditions was shut down, there's a few other tools they found their way into, but right here is a big chunk of them in this virtual field trip section that you can explore and get back into that goodness of exploring the world, whether it is through maps, Street View, Google Earth, or jumping into arts and culture. You have a ton of different options. Hopefully you picked up something new in the world of search, maybe something new in the world of maps or my maps. And if you have any questions, please throw them in. But Rick, I think that is the end of my section, and whole lots of goodness, as I normally chuck in usually a little bit too much, but
no, that was great. I especially love your plug for Google Arts and Culture, because just like you said, everyone was all upset with the disappearance of the virtual field trips and stuff, but like they're all right there. They all made it into Google Arts and Culture. Thank you very much. We're going to move into the tail end of this. If you want to stick around, Patrick, you're welcome to. Otherwise, I'll bring you back up later, because I'm moving into the next part, which, oops, I keep doing that. All right, which is called How Do I Sign Up for the Test? Last week, we covered all the well-known Google tools. This week, we got into, as Eric Kurtz calls them, the hipster Google tools. And now we're going to talk about how we sign up for the test. If you were here for the 2 weeks prior to last week, we showed you how to sign up for Google Level 1, and signing up for Google Level 2 is no different. So what I'm going to do is just show you how you can do it. If you search up the Teacher Center, which is edu.google.com, and in here you'll find for educators, and here we have the different certification programs. You've got the training courses, and when you click on training courses, so for educators, training courses, you're going to see the basics. That's your level 1 and level 2. And if you scroll down, you can see all the things that are available in the Teacher Center. But let's go to, for advanced learners, that's us, right? Let's click on Start Training. And this is all the advanced training, but at the very bottom, I don't see it. Huh. So yeah, where do you sign up for the test? Let's log in. Advanced training. I'm logged in. There's me. Got a couple notifications. Certified trainer course started. I'm going to click home. Skill shop. That's all that. So let's go over here to training. Certification programs. Let's try product expertise. Oh, there it is. It's right there. Huh. I really should look at that stuff sooner. But right here, so once again, you go to edu.google.com, go to for educators, go to certification programs, and we are looking for product expertise. When you click on that, we've got educator level 1, we've got educator level 2. What you're going to notice is, first of all, it's valid for 3 years. You only have to renew 3 times, or once every 3 years. How can I access? Stacy asked the question. How can I access my renewal? I passed the exam on Monday, but have not received the official email as of yet. I can't even remember where to look for my certifications. Great question. We'll show that in a second. But here we go. We've got Get Started. Oh, I can't make it smaller. Oh, because I clicked in a different screen. There we go. So let's go ahead. You would pick this. It's $25. When you click Get Started, it's going to be right here. You would register for the exam. So before you begin, it's going to ask you to log into your Google account. We always recommend that you do it on a personal Google account because you may change jobs, at which point your certification is kind of tied to your Google login. Then register for the exam. Check your email because you'll receive the link for the exam, and then you take the exam. So this, which is how do I sign up for the test? That's right here. Not in the skill shop, go away. So would be right here, step 2, register for the exam, check your email, take the exam. So right here, click register. Select your language. This is new as of the past few years, and it is available in, check it out, boom, all of these languages now. Used to only be a couple, but now we've got it in many more, and that's awesome and inclusive. I love it. Let's click OK. You'll sign in. Again, you're going to want to sign in with a personal account, not necessarily a work account. And this is to answer to your question, Stacy. So you would go here, you'd click after you've registered and log in. You can see my certifications right there. And this is going to tell you where everything is, where you're current. And if you click on current, this you can click resend email. So that's how you would find, Stacy, your level 1 certification. So this would be current. But once you log in, this is where you would find across here through Criterion, you would see my certification receipts, because if you want to get money back, because some school districts and companies will pay you back for your registration fee. And then my assessments. So let's click register for exam. You're going to want to click for educators. Here's the problem I'm going to run into. If you're already certified, you can't do it. And you can see when you have to recertify, like right here. I certified last year, so I have to wait till May of 2024 to sign up. But again, this is where you do it. Let's walk through that whole thing again one more time, see if we can do it really quick this time. Teacher Center. For educators. Go away. Right there. For educators. Certification product expertise. Level 2. Register. Select your language. Boom. It's that easy. Super duper fast, super duper quick. That's how you can get to it. And again, that teacher center you can find. You can just type in Google for education as well. And then Google Workspace for Educators are right here for educators. Also, if you go to communities, something you're going to find is us right here, global. That's how you can keep in contact with us. Now, before we go for the day, before we disappear, as it were, and send you off to go take your exams, are there any questions? Stacy had that good one about how to see where I find my certifications and where you're current. But does anyone else have any other questions? If you don't have them now, you can always reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram and ask us these questions, because you can find us there. And if you want to, you can just hashtag GlobalGEG. And while you're doing it, let's see your game face. Let's practice our level 2 test game face. So we were asking you right now, take your selfie in your best I'm so focused pose and let everyone know you are ready to rock this test. And we'd love for you to post it on social media with the hashtag GlobalGEG. So it's selfie time. And just to recap, you're ready. You've got this, especially if you just did the level 1 exam. Level 2 just gets into a few more of those specifics, a little more than nitty gritty, but you know this stuff. You are ready to go, and we're here to support you. So if you want to reach out, once again, ask your question, put the hashtag GlobalGEG. We'll get back to you. And thank you so much for your time and spending it with us. I would like to bring up some other people just because I can. So I'm going to bring up Pili and Gerardo, and we're going to just say thanks. Does anyone else have anything else to add?
Nothing. I am very happy that it's finally done.
Woo! Yeah,
Yeah,
you've been here
and
all month, Pili, right?
yeah, except last week, but yes, pretty much 3 out of 4 sessions.
Yep.
And I want to
Gerardo,
invite
all of
people um, to share when they pass the level 1 or 2 exams. That they share on Twitter and they tag us, so they let us know that these helped.
please. That would be super duper cool. So, great work, everybody. I'm going to go over here and hit the thing which ends it for the session. But once again, great job, everyone. You've got this. Hashtag GlobalGEG, and we'll get back to you. Go to it.